If you're looking for the perfect adventure in Costa Rica, check out our 7-day guide. We go to 2 areas, La Fortuna and Manuel Antonio, by car. We went during August of 2023, which is technically the light rainy season, but don't let that deter you. We still had a great time with less crowds. So we start our day flying into the San Jose airport, which is one of 2 airports that you can fly into for Costa Rica. So we picked up our rental car, which we booked through Adobe, and we recommend either Adobe or Vamos. So we read a lot on Reddit saying that even the big companies do a lot of hidden charges. So I would stick with one of these 2 companies, even though it is a little bit more expensive, it seems in the beginning. We're then on the road, and it's about a 3 to 4.5 hour drive from Manuel Antonio. We'd made a pit stop at the Tarcoles Bridge, which it's about 45 miles or 73 kilometers from the San Jose airport. The Tarcoles River is renowned for its large population of American crocodiles. It's actually one of the biggest areas in the world to actually see these crocodiles. Sometimes there's a lot if it's during like the breeding season. The drive to Manuel Antonio or just anywhere in Costa Rica is just beautiful. It's really cool, and we had some concerns about the road conditions in Costa Rica since we read about it, but each way that we went from San Jose to Manuel Antonio to La Fortuna actually had really good roads. So after about 4 hours, we finally made it to our hotel, where we stayed at Shana Hotel by the beach, and it's a 4-star hotel. So it has 2 different pools, it has its own restaurant, it has its own bar. So it's definitely a place you can just stay in and lounge around if you really want to, but it's also close enough to the town and other restaurants that you can go to pretty easy. During the middle of the day, they do have happy hour, which is buy one, get one free drinks on certain cocktails. There is a beach right next to our resort hotel, and we were gonna walk down there, which is about a 20-minute walk. Bisan's Beach, we read that that's really nice and it does offer a really good sunset, but we actually just caught sunset at our hotel, which is also quite beautiful. So this area is actually the adults only area, and the one thing really cool about this hotel is I saw a monkey from our balcony window. That's pretty cool. So I'd recommend this hotel. It's pretty affordable. Price and everything, it was a really solid spot, so I'd rate this a 4 out of 5. So after a good night's rest, we're finally on to the adventure. So today we're checking out Manuel Antonio National Park. So one thing to note is if you are planning to do this, make sure to book tickets ahead of time. So it's about $18 or $20 a person, and they do not sell tickets at the door. So if you don't have a reservation, it is probable that you're not going to be able to get in. So you can do this as a self-guided tour, or you can actually, if you don't actually get to be able to book tickets, maybe you should book a guided tour, which I think is about $50 a person. One of the odd stories that we had is actually when we were walking out of the park, this monkey approached us from the one side and jumped to grab it, and we didn't even realize what happened until...
That's deep.
The bug repellent.
And now he's wiping himself with it.
At the one shop that they do sell the coffee and ice cream for, which is pretty crowded, again, the monkeys were able to catch on, and they know that a lot of people eat there, so they will actually come and grab your food. One of the monkeys that we saw, they actually grabbed somebody's ice cream and they were eating it up. Some other animals that we did see were these fire ants. They were carrying leaves to build like some sort of habitat. And then we also saw deer at the end of our exploration later on in the day, and some, I want to say, iguanas. But obviously the highlight of Costa Rica is the sloths. So I think this is where a guide would be really great so that you can actually learn more specific information about the sloths, but we were still able to see them without a guide. After that, we went to the beach and just hung out for a few hours before our kayaking tour. So from our experience, the first thing that we would actually recommend is doing the Manuel Antonio National Park first, unless you're waking up really early, because the park actually opens until about 3 p.m. So if you're deciding between kayak versus boat, there are pros and cons to both, and I think they cost about the same. So obviously the boat's going to be a lot more relaxing. You can just take in the scenes versus kayaking. You can see really more of the experience, like you really feel more in nature with kayaking, so I would definitely recommend that for sure. So after kayaking, we actually went to Quepos and had dinner at Soda Sanchez. So we did like the dish with the plantains and the 3 different kinds of salsas to eat it with, but we thought the other dishes and the drinks were just okay. One high recommendation that I think you must do is to go to Ape Social Bar, which has really good cocktails. So today we're gonna do whale watching and then just hang out at our bougie resorts. So after dropping off our stuff, we ended up going to do the whale watching tours. This is in the Merino Balena National Park. So one cool thing about this area is actually there's high tide and low tide. So during times of high tide, the whole beach will actually disappear. So the whale watching tour that we did was through the company Balena Aventura, and this was about $75 a person at the time in 2023. So it is an afternoon or morning, so half-day trip, and it was really cool. There was only about 7 to 8 of us in the group, and we did get to see one mom and her calf, but our guide did say some days you get luckier, and then some days you don't get lucky at all. So kind of just ends up what nature brings upon us, and it was actually a really cool experience. So after all that, we finally made it back to our hotel for sunset. So this is the view from the infinity pool, and it's just absolutely stunning. So if you're interested in watching a time lapse of the Costa Rican jungle sunset, check out the link below, or I linked it with this video. Rooms here are kind of expensive, which is why we only stayed for one night, and I think we paid about $450. But if you use your Capital One Venture X card at the time, you got a free upgrade and you got $100 to spend on food. So that made us feel a little bit better. The highlight is actually, since it's in the jungle, you can hear and sleep with the noises of the jungle.
And you can hear the jungle creature. Starting to rain.
So we used our $100 credit for dinner that night, and I would definitely recommend getting the risotto. That was definitely the highlight of the night. So I would rate this place a 5 out of 5. I'd definitely come back. It was a little bit out of the way from everything else, but it was well worth it. So this was the view in the morning from our balcony. We had coffee here for about an hour, just taking it all in. So we tried to wake up for sunrise that morning, but we weren't able to stay awake. So if it's not cloudy that day, I imagine this place has an insane sunrise. So if you guys end up do stay here, or actually any resort in Costa Rica, I would definitely watch the places to see sunrise and sunset. And here were the views just checking out in the morning from the pool area, and it's just stunning. So if you have the money, I would definitely recommend staying here like 2 or 3 nights, and then they can actually coordinate adventures for you. Obviously you're going to be paying a little bit more than if you were coordinating it on your own, and they also provide I was reading transportation from the airport that you'll obviously pay for, but they really make it convenient for you if that's what you are aiming to have. So then we were on our way to La Fortuna, which is about a 5 to 6 hour drive from where we were. It takes essentially the whole day, and we get to pass by a lot of different towns, so if you do have more time, you can make a stop for a day or 2 here. One town we did pass by for lunch was Palmeiras, which is the second largest city in this province of Alajuela. Once we got to La Fortuna, we checked into our hotel, which is a great bargain for the price that you do pay. It has its own hot springs, it's family friendly, and you get to stay in these really cozy cabins. It even has its own farm and potbelly pig called Bella. So now we're on day 5, which was my favorite day in Costa Rica, where we do a bunch of water adventures. We were a little bit worried because it was raining so hard that day, but we were told that it's fine because they are able to monitor the weather really well, and so they know when there's going to be when the rain is going to stop. So we just had to wait it out maybe not even an hour. So the first part of our day was doing the canyoning portion, so that the rappelling, the zip lining. So with this, we weren't really sure what to expect. So I ended up wearing water shoes. I ended up wearing something that was quick dry, so because you are going to get wet. And then definitely bring in a water bag, something to put your phone. The guides can actually carry some of that stuff for you, but if you wanted to bring your own, I'd highly recommend that as well. So with the rappelling, we actually kind of escalated up to the big waterfalls. So we did 2 to 3 small waterfalls first, and the guides were really great. They walked you through all of the things on how to be safe, how to go slower. So I know I've mentioned this so many times before, but rappelling is absolutely my favorite thing to do that I've done on any trip and that I did during this trip. And this was the largest waterfall experience. It was about, I don't actually remember, a 70-foot drop or something like that, but it was absolutely insane. The whole thing, the whole day was super organized, and I felt like they were very professional and kind, so I would highly recommend booking with this group. So there are ziplining experiences in between the rappelling. So there are 2 zip lines that go through the jungle, and then there's one long zip line that takes you to the end, back to the starting point which you came from. So this was pretty cool, pretty fun, and very safe. And if you are doing the full day, you do get lunch provided for you. So we got lunch and we waited around for the rain midday to cool down, but then we were on our way to rafting. So one thing I do recommend is listen to the safety instructions. So I actually fell into the water pretty early on. And luckily I was wearing bright blue, so I was easy to see, and then I reacted pretty quick. Definitely listen to the safety instructions. The rafting here is quite adventurous, so we actually did the class 2 and 3, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I couldn't imagine what the higher tier for class 3 and 4 is. So this portion, if you're doing it separately, is $75 for about 4.5 hours. So you really get a good bonding experience with your group because you're really working together to make it through the other end of the river. So it's a really great experience, and I highly recommend it. Our guide did tell us if you're lucky, you'll get to see some wildlife along the way, such as sloths or monkeys. Again, highly recommend this tour group. After a long day, we ended up back at our hotel enjoying the hot springs. So if your hotel doesn't have their own hot springs, I do recommend some that I found. Ended our night at La Fortuna pub, which is a pretty cool and casual spot to have dinner. So the food here is pretty decent, and I would go for the margaritas over the beer, but they have live music, they have games you can play, and it's a pretty young, hip crowd. So for our last day in Costa Rica, we did a big splurge and we stayed at the Nayara Springs, which was an amazing resort. So it's connected to both Nayara Gardens and Nayara Tented Camp, and 2 of these are adults only, and then Nayara Gardens you can stay with kids. So when you check in, you get a free drink, which is alcoholic or non-alcoholic, and it's amazing. The service is exceptional as one would expect. And we checked in, it was raining pretty hard, so we actually ended up just getting some coffee and enjoying the rain from the check-in balcony. Afterwards, we took some time to kind of wait the rain out, and we had some food at the Nayara Tented Camp restaurant. I forgot the name, but this was kind of a fusion between Asian and American, and it was really good. So we loved these tacos that we got. The drinks were good. Unfortunately, we didn't get to swim here just because it was raining so hard for a while. We then went to the hot springs, which was really cool because it has 6 different pools of different temperatures. So these are fed by natural mineral water, and there is actually a bar connected to one of them, so you can have drinks and enjoy the hot springs at the same time. The drinks are pretty good. We finally made it to our room, which was just gorgeous. So each of these villas has their own private jacuzzi. They have their own private outdoor shower, as well as just this huge, probably way too big, villa space for a bathroom, and you're just... And as we're ending the night, we actually went to the Nyara Springs Hanging Bridge. So this is similar to, or very, very much smaller version, as the Mystico Hanging Bridge in La Fortuna, which we didn't get a chance to go to. So after we spent all day lounging around, we tried to find somewhere for dinner. So the one thing that I would look back in retrospect and do is to make sure that you book reservations ahead of time when you check in. So the only place that we had after trying 2 to 3 different restaurants was we got to sit down at Asia Luna pretty late, but it was just okay. So I would try to make sure to get the recommendations for dinner and book reservations ahead of time. But it did come with this beautiful kitty that came to greet us, so that was a plus. And that was it. We spent the day at the Nyara Springs. The next morning, we actually woke up, and something that I really love to do is yoga. So the Nyara Springs actually has a free daily yoga that is free of charge to all of our guests. So it was quite beautiful, and I could do yoga here every day. And then we spent some time at the pool before we had to go back to the airport. So the drive back to the airport is about 3.5 hours. It was a little bit rainy, so just to be careful if you are driving anywhere. And that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching our video on the 7-day Costa Rica adventure. If you enjoyed the video and found it useful, like and subscribe. Take care.